News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
Karen, the big lift in futures comes after President Donald Trump said he never had any intention to fire Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell. The apparent walkback comes days after the president posted on social media that Powell's termination, quote, cannot come fast enough. And his National Economic Council director told reporters that Trump was exploring whether he had the authority to remove the Fed chair. But when asked directly yesterday if he wanted to remove Powell, President Trump had this to say.
No, I have no intention of firing him. I would like to see him be a little more active in terms of his idea to lower interest rates. If he doesn't, is it the end? No, it's not, but it would be good timing.
The Fed has kept interest rates unchanged this year after lowering them by a full percentage point in the last few months of 2024.
Well, Nathan, the apparent easing of White House pressure on the Fed comes as President Trump indicates a willingness to dial down tariff tensions with China. He told reporters he plans to be very nice to China in any trade negotiations and that tariffs could be reduced if the two countries reach a deal.
145% is very high, and it won't be that high. I think we'll make a deal with China.
And top Chinese officials, including the central bank governor and finance minister, are in Washington for World Bank and IMF meetings this week.
In Beijing, Karen, China says the door is wide open to trade talks. A foreign ministry spokesman says China's pointed out early on that there are no winners in tariff and trade wars. Chinese President Xi Jinping says they undermine the legitimate rights and interests of all countries and hurt the world economic order. China's official Xinhua news agency says Xi made those comments during a meeting with the president of Azerbaijan.
Well, Nathan, the International Monetary Fund is slashing its global growth forecast and is warning the trade war could spark even more economic pain. The IMF now expects global GDP to grow by just 2.8% versus its previous estimate of 3.3%. IMF's managing director, Kristalina Georgieva, told Bloomberg the risk of a global recession is growing.
If we have this cloud of uncertainty coming lower and lower, making it difficult for the business community and for households to take decisions, we could have a self-inflicted injury that I guarantee you we would regret.
And Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva and the IMF cut its growth outlook for China and the U.S. by more than most countries.
And Karen, Elon Musk says he plans to keep advocating for President Trump to pull back on tariffs, but he says the issue is entirely up to the president. Musk says tariffs are impacting Tesla, but not as much as its competitors.
We are, I think, the least affected car company with respect to tariffs. We do have localized supply chains in North America, Europe, and China. So that puts us in a stronger position than any of our competitors.
And Musk's comments came on the Tesla earnings conference call, but it was the billionaire's remarks about his future work with the government that has the stock on the rise this morning.
Starting probably in next month, in May, my time allocation to Doge will drop significantly. I'll have to continue doing it for, I think, probably the remainder of the president's term, just to make sure that the waste and fraud that we stop does not come roaring back.
And shares of Tesla are up 6% in early trading. This despite the EV maker reporting first quarter earnings below estimates.
Well, another big tech company is making news, Karen. Job cuts are coming to Intel. We have more on this exclusive story from Bloomberg's John Tucker. John.
Good morning, Nathan. Intel plans to announce cuts to more than 20% of the workforce. That's about 22,000 workers. This is part of the Silicon Valley-based company's first major restructuring under the new CEO, Lip-Bu Tan. Tan, who took over in March, wants to streamline management and reestablish Intel's engineer-driven corporate culture. He previously announced the struggling chip giant would sell its majority stake in its Altera business and said he intends to spin off some of the Intel non-core business. It's all part of the turnaround efforts there. Intel has fallen behind its rivals at producing AI chips. It also faces the effects of the Trump administration's trade war with China. They do report earnings tomorrow. Intel shares have slid nearly 20% over the past month. They're down 43% over the past year. At pre-market, the shares right now up over 3%. In New York, I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.